7 inches of snow for New York City. When was the last time you heard those words in the same sentence? But here's what nobody's telling you. Some computer models are showing double that amount. Others are showing half. And the difference between those forecasts could mean the difference between a snow day and a disaster. 50 million people are about to find out which forecast is right, and you might be one of them. In the next 30 seconds, I'm going to reveal the single most important factor that determines whether you're about to get buried in snow or just see a dusting. And here's the shocking part. It's something most weather forecasters never mention. Temperature, specifically the temperature at exactly 5,000 feet above your head. That's where the battle happens. That's where warm air and cold air collide. And whoever wins that battle determines what falls from the sky. Right now, as I'm speaking, there's a storm system organizing over the Midwest. It doesn't look like much yet, just some light snow in Wisconsin and Minnesota. But within 48 hours, this system could be a powerhouse, affecting the entire Northeast corridor. Here's your reward for watching this far. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens hour by hour, city by city, so you know precisely when to be concerned and when to relax. But first, let me show you something that's happening right now that defies explanation if you don't understand atmospheric patterns. California is drowning, not figuratively, literally drowning in water. Rain falling at rates exceeding 1 inch per hour. In the mountains, snow measured in feet. Multiple feet. They've already seen 3 to 4 feet in some locations, and another 2 to 3 feet is forecast. Simultaneously, most of the eastern United States just experienced one of the warmest Christmas Eves on record. People wearing shorts, riding bicycles, temperatures in the 60 seconds and 70 seconds in late December. How is that possible? How can two parts of the same country experience such opposite extremes at the same time? The answer is hiding in plain sight, 5 to 7 miles above your head. The jet stream. Imagine a river of air moving at 150 miles per hour, separating cold Arctic air from warm tropical air. That river meanders. Sometimes it plunges far south, sometimes it retreats north, and right now it's creating a pattern meteorologists call high amplitude. That's technical speak for wild swings, deep troughs of cold air, tall ridges of warm air, and when the pattern has high amplitude, you get extreme weather on both ends. California sits under a trough, cold air aloft, storm after storm slamming into the coast. The moisture comes from what scientists call an atmospheric river, literally a river of water vapor in the atmosphere flowing from the Pacific, making landfall in California. When these atmospheric rivers hit, they hit hard. We're talking precipitation rates that would drain a swimming pool in hours if you could somehow catch all the rain. Meanwhile, the eastern United States sits under a ridge, warm air aloft. Temperatures 15 to 25 degrees above average. It's been remarkable, and remarkably pleasant for most people. But here's the thing about atmospheric patterns. They don't last forever. They evolve. They shift. They break down. And this pattern? It's about to break. Let me show you what happens when it does. And this is where the forecast gets fascinating. High above Western Canada, there's a pool of air that's cold beyond anything we've seen this winter. We're talking temperatures 20 to 30 degrees below average. In some locations, 40 degrees below average. That air is just sitting there, locked in place by the current pattern. But patterns shift, and when this one shifts, that cold air gets released. Think of it like opening a freezer door. That cold air wants to spread out, wants to flow into available space. And the available space? That's the eastern United States. Now, before that happens, before the big pattern shift, we have to deal with this storm Thursday into Friday. And this storm is complicated. At the 5-minute mark, I promised you the detailed timeline. Here it is. Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Light snow develops across Wisconsin and Minnesota. Nothing heavy, just the beginning of the system. Thursday afternoon, the storm begins intensifying. Precipitation spreads into Michigan and Pennsylvania. In the higher elevations, it's snow. In the valleys, it could start as a mix. Thursday evening, this is when things get serious. Heavy snow develops across interior Pennsylvania and New York. The storm is cranking up. Snowfall rates could reach 1 to 2 inches per hour in the heaviest bands. Thursday night into early Friday morning, the storm reaches peak intensity. New York City begins seeing snow. It comes down steadily. Accumulations build quickly. Friday morning rush hour is a disaster. Snow-covered roads, visibility reduced, travel dangerous. This is when most of the accidents happen. Not during the storm, but when people try to navigate roads that haven't been cleared yet. Friday afternoon, the storm begins pulling offshore. Snow tapers from west to east, but the damage is done. Accumulations are on the ground. The cleanup begins. Now here's the critical detail that changes everything, that line I mentioned earlier. The line between snow and mixed precipitation. This line is going to be razor sharp. We're talking about a difference of 20 or 30 miles, determining whether you get 7 inches of snow or 2 inches of sleet. And where exactly that line sets up depends on factors that won't be clear until Thursday morning. The track of the storm, the strength of cold air damming, the timing of the warm air push. Change any one of those by even a small amount, and the forecast changes dramatically. So, when you see a forecast for 7 inches in New York City, understand that there's a range of possible outcomes. It could be 10 inches. It could be 4. 7 is the middle ground, the best estimate based on current data. Philadelphia, you're in the most difficult forecasting position. You could end up with significant snow if the storm tracks a bit west and the cold air holds. Or you could end up with mostly sleet and freezing rain if the warm air wins. Or you could end up with rain if the warm air really surges. All 3 scenarios are possible with current data. That's not forecaster uncertainty, that's atmospheric reality. Baltimore and Washington, D.C., you're far enough south that rain is the most likely outcome. Maybe some snow at the onset, but rain takes over quickly. But here's something that worries me more than the snow. Ice. The mountains of Pennsylvania and western Maryland are looking at significant ice accumulation potential. We're forecasting 0.3 of an inch in some areas. Let me put that in perspective. 1/4 inch of ice can snap tree branches, bring down power lines, create hazardous road conditions that persist for days, even after the precipitation ends. We're forecasting more than that. And when you combine ice accumulation with temperatures in the 20 seconds, you get a recipe for power outages. Think about that scenario for a moment. No power, below freezing temperatures, for potentially thousands of people. This is where preparation becomes critical. This is where checking on neighbors, especially elderly neighbors, becomes potentially life-saving. The Bible talks about loving your neighbor as yourself. This is what that looks like in practice. Checking in, offering help, making sure vulnerable people have what they need. That's not just good neighborliness. That's living out faith in practical ways. Now, let me talk about what happens after the storm. Because the storm is just the beginning of the story. Behind this system, cold air plunges south. And I mean really cold. The coldest air we've seen this winter. Monday into Tuesday, temperatures crash across the upper Midwest. Wisconsin sees lows near or below 0. Wind chills potentially dangerous. Frostbite possible in minutes for exposed skin. That cold continues to spread east and south. By Tuesday, it reaches the Gulf Coast. North Florida experiences freezing temperatures. The Florida Panhandle definitely does. This is significant because infrastructure in the South isn't designed for hard freezes. Pipes can burst. Plants can die. It creates problems that don't occur in the North where they're prepared for cold. Wednesday, the cold moderates slightly but remains well below average across much of the eastern 2/3 of the country. And then, as we approach New Year's, the long-range models are hinting at another potential storm system. Too early for details. Too early for confident forecasts. But the pattern supports it. When you have northwest flow established, when you have cold air in place, when you have moisture available from the Atlantic, you create opportunities for East Coast winter storms. We haven't had many classic nor'easters this winter. Maybe that's about to change. Now, let me address the West Coast, because while the East focuses on this upcoming storm, California is dealing with something potentially historic. The atmospheric river that's been pounding the state for days, it's relentless. Wave after wave of moisture, storm after storm. The Sierra Nevada has seen incredible snow totals, some locations reporting 4 to 5 feet already, with another 2 to 3 feet forecast. That's good for water supply. California desperately needs the moisture after years of drought. But there's a dark side to this much precipitation this fast. Southern California, especially areas burned by recent wildfires, is experiencing mudslides. When you remove vegetation from hillsides and then dump inches of rain in hours, the soil can't hold. It flows. Highways are closing. Homes are threatened. In some cases, homes are damaged or destroyed. This is serious, dangerous stuff. And it's not over. The pattern continues through the end of December. More atmospheric rivers are lined up in the Pacific, waiting their turn to make landfall. Interstate 80, the main east-west route through the Sierra, has been closed multiple times. When it's open, chain requirements are in effect. And even with chains, travel is treacherous. If you're in California and considering mountain travel, here's my advice. Don't. Wait. Let the storms pass. Let the roads get cleared. Your life is worth more than any schedule. Now, here's something fascinating that connects the East and West Coast situations. They're both driven by the same overall atmospheric pattern. That blocking high over Western Canada is forcing the jet stream into a configuration that brings moisture to California while simultaneously setting up the cold air source for the eventual push into the east. It's all connected. One massive atmospheric system playing out across the entire continent. And as we look ahead into January and February, that pattern persists, maybe even intensifies. The European weekly models, sophisticated long-range forecasting tools, are consistently showing below-average temperatures for the eastern United States heading into late January and early February. Not just a day here or there. 7-day averages. Multiple weeks of sustained cold. Now, I need to be honest with you. Long-range forecasting has inherent limitations. Things can change. Patterns can shift. Nothing is guaranteed. But when multiple independent forecast systems all show similar trends, when the European model agrees with the American model, agrees with the Canadian model, you pay attention. What does this mean practically? It means don't pack away the winter gear after this week's storm. It means keep the snow shovel accessible. It means if you're planning outdoor activities in January, build in flexibility. But it also means opportunity. Real winter. The kind that creates memories. Kids building snowmen, families sledding, the unique beauty of fresh fallen snow. We've become so conditioned to view winter weather as purely negative that we forget it can also be wonderful. God created seasons for a reason. Each has its purpose. Winter isn't a mistake, it's part of the design. And maybe a winter that actually feels like winter reconnects us with something important. Something about living in rhythm with creation rather than fighting against it. Let me give you practical preparation steps. Not panic, preparation. Number 1, check your emergency kit today. Flashlights, batteries, first aid supplies. If you don't have these things, get them before Thursday. Number 2, fill your vehicle's gas tank. Power outages mean gas pumps don't work. You want a full tank before the storm. Number 3, charge all your electronic devices. Phone, laptop, tablet, backup batteries. Charge everything fully. Number 4, stock up on drinking water. Not panic buying, just make sure you have a few gallons on hand. If power goes out for extended periods, water systems can be affected. Number 5, check your food supply. Make sure you have enough non-perishable food for several days. Things you can eat without cooking if necessary. Number 6, medications. If you take prescriptions, make sure you have adequate supply. This is especially important for people with chronic conditions. Number 7, cash. ATMs need electricity. Have some cash on hand just in case. Number 8, check on your neighbors. This is the most important step, especially the elderly. Especially those who live alone. A simple phone call could make all the difference. Community isn't just a nice concept. It's how we survive challenging situations. It's how we thrive. Now let me talk about something meteorologists struggle with. Uncertainty. We live in a culture that demands certainty. Black and white answers, yes or no. But weather doesn't work that way. Every forecast has uncertainty. The question is, how much? For this Thursday-Friday storm, uncertainty is higher than usual. Why? Because we're dealing with precipitation-type issues. The line between snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain is temperature-dependent, and temperature forecasts in winter, especially in marginal situations, have significant uncertainty. A 2-degree difference can completely change the forecast, and 2 degrees is well within the margin of error. So when you see that 7-inch snow forecast for New York City, understand it's not gospel. It's the best estimate based on imperfect information about a chaotic system. Could be more, could be less. We're giving you the middle ground, the most likely scenario. And that's honest. Honesty builds trust. Pretending we have perfect certainty when we don't, that destroys trust. I'd rather tell you the truth, uncertainty and all, than give you false confidence. Speaking of truth, let me address climate change, because I know some of you are thinking about it. Are these extreme weather events proof of climate change? Is global warming causing this? Short answer, it's complicated. Weather is not climate. One warm December doesn't prove global warming. One cold January doesn't disprove it. Climate is measured over decades, not days or seasons. It's the long-term average, the trend line through the noise. What we're experiencing right now is weather variability. The atmosphere has always been variable. The jet stream has always had wobbles. Arctic air has always made excursions south. The question about climate change is whether the frequency or intensity of these events is changing over long time periods. That requires different data, different analysis. For now, we focus on the weather at hand, the patterns affecting people this week and next week. And those patterns are bringing significant winter weather to millions of Americans. Let me give you a regional breakdown, specific forecasts for specific areas. Boston, 3 to 5 inches of snow expected. Could be more if the storm tracks north, could be less if it stays south. Timing Thursday night into Friday morning. Portland, Maine, similar numbers to Boston. Interior Maine, especially higher elevations, could see 6 to 10 inches. New York City, the 7-inch forecast stands as the best estimate. Range of possible outcomes, 4 to 12 inches depending on storm track and intensity. Albany, significant snow likely, 8 to 12 inches possible. This storm could be a big deal for the capital region. Right on the edge. Could see significant snow or could see less if warm air infiltrates, 5 to 8 inches currently forecast. This is the toughest forecast. Could be snow, could be sleet, could be rain. Temperature will determine everything. Current thinking, mixed precipitation, total accumulation 2 to 4 inches of snow and sleet combined. Newark, 5 to 6 inches of snow, but with potential for some sleet mixing in. Trenton, mixed precipitation likely. Less snow than northern New Jersey, more sleet and possibly some freezing rain. Baltimore, mostly rain, maybe an inch or two of snow at the onset before changeover. Washington, D.C., rain. Perhaps a brief period of snow to start, but rain is the main precipitation type. Pittsburgh, mixed bag from the start. Snow, sleet, maybe some freezing rain. Total accumulation uncertain because of precipitation type issues. State College, cold enough for all snow, 4 to 6 inches likely. And across the Midwest and South, you miss most of the precipitation, but get the cold air behind it. Chicago, maybe some light snow, but the big story is the cold air Tuesday into Wednesday. Milwaukee, same story. Not much snow, but brutal cold Monday night into Tuesday. Minneapolis, light snow, then dangerous cold, single-digit highs Tuesday. Dallas, you miss the snow entirely, but freezing temperatures arrive Tuesday night into Wednesday. This matters for an area not used to hard freezes. Temperatures drop to near freezing or just below Wednesday morning. Protect sensitive plants and pets. Atlanta, freezing or near freezing temperatures Wednesday morning. Same advice, protect what needs protecting. Could see freezing temperatures in outlying areas Wednesday morning. This far south, a hard freeze is notable. That's the regional breakdown. But remember, these forecasts will continue to evolve. Thursday morning, we'll have much better data. Models will converge. Confidence will increase. Until then, we work with what we have. We prepare for a range of possibilities. We stay informed. Now, let me talk about the rest of January. because this week's storm isn't the end of the story. Those long-range models I mentioned, the ones showing persistent cold for the east, they're also showing something interesting for the Rockies. After a terrible start to winter, after ski resorts struggling with minimal snow, the pattern might finally shift favorably for Colorado and Utah. Not immediately, but as we push into mid-January, precipitation chances increase. If that happens, if the Rockies start seeing more consistent storms, it could salvage what's been a disappointing winter so far. Water supply in the West depends on mountain snowpack. It's the savings account that gets withdrawn in summer. Without adequate snow, summer water supplies are stressed. So when we talk about weather patterns, we're not just talking about skiing and recreation. We're talking about water security, agricultural viability, economic impacts. Weather matters, not in an abstract way, but in deeply practical ways that affect real lives and real livelihoods. And this is where science and faith intersect. We study creation to understand it. We understand it to steward it wisely. We steward it to serve others. Knowledge leads to wisdom, leads to service. That's the chain. That's the calling. Let me address something else I know you're thinking about. How accurate are long-range forecasts anyway? Fair question. The honest answer, less accurate than short-range forecasts, but still useful. A 7-day forecast today is about as accurate as a 3-day forecast was 20 years ago. We've made tremendous progress. But beyond 7 days, skill drops off. Beyond 14 days, we're looking at trends and patterns rather than specific forecasts. When I talk about cold temperatures in late January, I'm not saying January 25th will be 15 degrees in New York. I'm saying the pattern suggests below average temperatures for that time period. Big difference. One is a specific forecast. The other is a trend. Understanding that difference is important. It sets proper expectations. It allows you to use the information wisely without over-interpreting it. Now, as we approach the end of this discussion, let me bring it all together. We have a significant storm Thursday into Friday affecting the Northeast, snow for some, mixed precipitation for others, ice in the mountains. We have cold air plunging south behind that storm, the coldest air of the winter so far, reaching all the way to the Gulf Coast. We have a pattern that looks active heading into January, more cold intrusions, potential for additional storm systems. And we have California continuing to deal with atmospheric rivers and heavy precipitation. That's a lot happening simultaneously. That's an active weather pattern. But it's not unprecedented. It's not the end of the world. It's winter weather. Our job is to understand it, prepare for it, and help each other navigate it. That's the message. That's the forecast. That's the truth. Stay informed. Check forecasts regularly as the storm approaches. Understand that details will change as we get better data. Stay prepared. Have your emergency supplies ready. Make your plans flexible. Be ready to adjust. Stay connected. Check on neighbors. Offer help where you can. Build community. And stay faithful. Remember that we're not in control of the weather, but we are responsible for how we respond to it. Use the gifts you've been given, the knowledge, the resources, the opportunities to serve. That's what matters. Not the snow total, not the exact temperature, but how we treat each other when challenges come. The next 48 hours bring clarity. The storm will develop, the forecasts will sharpen, and we'll navigate it together. Because that's what we do. That's who we are. And that's who we're called to be. Until the next update, stay safe, stay warm, and keep your eyes on the horizon. The storm is coming, but so is the sun after the storm. Both are certain. Both are part of the pattern. And in that certainty, there's peace.